Hey guys, so welcome back to my channel. I'm still in Devon and I thought I would make another video here because, as I said in my last video, I left a few plants at my parents' house in Devon and I've just come back to try and salvage and sort them out. So this is a Philodendron, I can never pronounce this word, Camposportoanum. And every time, it's the one plant that every single time I write this plant's name, I have to Google it. I just cannot get it into my head. But I actually think they're a very underrated plant. And when presented in the right way, I think they are beautiful. I love the leaves. When they're mature, they're like this. I don't have any immature leaves here, but they actually have a different type of colour when they're immature. They have a different shape and they're also a little bit more reddy tinged. And I actually really like both. But I really think these are gorgeous plants and I feel like no one's really interested in them, and I don't know if they're going to have their day sometime or not, but maybe I can bring them back to all 20 people that watch my videos. But when I got back, anyway, the mum plant was so leggy, and I think maybe this is why they're not as popular. It was the one I've got in my flat is actually looking really nice now because I have it growing up a moss pole. And the way I believe personally to grow these plants, and a lot of aroids and philodendrons, is to get them bushier. If you've just got this one plant that's just growing up and I'm really annoyed with myself because I don't even think I took a photo. I didn't capture it when I first saw it, when it was looking so leggy. And then I only captured me cutting it in portrait. So for reels, I didn't actually think about making a video until afterwards. And then it's obviously too late. You can't stick it back together again. But I'll just have to stick the portrait ones in and you won't get to see it before, but it was looking very leggy. Why some of these plants don't really get the credit they deserve. Now this one obviously isn't looking that great either because I've only just sorted it out, but I always think with plants and aroids it's great to have a heavy hand with these guys, because if you want them to look good, they can't just be one stringy plant going up a moss pole. It's not going to look nice, and that wasn't even the case with this one. This one was going around a loop and oh, it was so stringy and messy. And I honestly think this is why these plants are not popular and people sort of quit on them, because that happens and then they think this plant looks horrible and they get rid of it. But I do honestly believe they can look great if done in the right way. And please don't use this as an example because I've only just done it. This probably needs about 2 years to start to really look nice around this pole. But anyway, I did a really, really harsh chop with it. And what I have done is planted. So these are all the leaves that I've taken off. And there's actually way more inside. It was so big. And you can see that they have these aerial roots there. And then they have the little leaf node here. I think you can see that. And the new growth is just going to pop out of that. And because it's going to start from a very small plant and it's going to start from a one leaf cutting, this is going to take a long while to really look great and reach the top of the pole. But then I do honestly believe it's going to look really nice. So what I did was I cut this one back. I kept one plant on here, and then I put a few around the base that just had one leaves and were already rooted, that were digging in the soil. And I will add these to it later when they have rooted, because unfortunately I can't just stick them straight in. And they're gonna have to root first. But then what I'm gonna do is probably put about 6 plants around the bottom, and then when they grow up the moss pole, they're gonna look bushy, they're gonna look thick, the whole plant is gonna look better. And really never be afraid of having a really heavy hand with aroid plants and getting a lot, you know, hack into it, cut your long stringy one down and get a good amount of plants in the base. And then once they've grown, you'll start to have a much nicer looking plant that's bushy, You're not going to see bits of moss poles sticking out of it. It's just going to be a much nicer plant to have in your home. So I also just wanted to talk a little bit about how I personally root the majority of my plants. So there's a lot of people out there that will say they really like to root their plants in clay pebbles, they like to root their plants in soil, they like to root their plants in perlite, and there's all kinds of mediums. And at the end of the day, try a few. Try a few with your less rare plants. I just steamed in. When I first got into plants, I went straight into rare plants. It's a bit it is my type, my personality, that I tend to just jump into things and learn by my mistakes. But some people are a lot more organised than me and read up first. But I do feel there is only so much that you can read up, because so much of this is what works for you, what works for you in your house, what works for you with the conditions that you have. So for me to root new cuttings, I love nothing more than just a jar of water. I have an almost 100% success rate in rooting in water. Almost 100%. I don't really think I've lost hardly any plants since I've been rooting in water. When I personally used to lose my plants is when I put them in soil too early and I panicked that they were not rooting, so I kept digging them up and looking. And I think it depends what kind of person you are. I do not doubt that some people can root very well in clay pebbles, perlite, and all various different types of mediums, but I just love water. I can see what's going on all the time. I can keep an eye on them. If something's going wrong, if one's rotting, I can see, and I can cut that bit off the stem, and I can add a little bit of hydrogen peroxide, tiny bits of the water to help with that, and I can just keep an eye on what's happening. And I love that. That works for me, and I have a very high success rate. It's very rare that I lose a plant propagating it in water, or a philodendron. I'm particularly into philodendrons. I can't think of anything worse than having something in soil or perlite and I can't see what's going on, and I'm just sitting hoping that it doesn't die on me. I have been there and I hated that. It doesn't work for me. I like this water method, but some things you can read, and sometimes you just have to learn by experience. And I do think this is one of those things where read up on all the different methods and just find the one that works for you and stick with it because everyone's going to have a different method that they prefer, but I'm just sharing with you mine. And I also think it's the most simple as well, and you're not messing around with all different things. But by all means, do what works for you, and we could argue about this all day. But I hope everyone is well, and I will speak to you soon. Bye bye.